if anyone is, I guess, I don't know if I can see anyone or not, but if you guys are here, welcome. Sarah here, and I'm going to just introduce myself first, and then you can go ahead. I am recording out here in California right now, and go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Seb. I'm right here at the west coast of Norway. It's the middle of the night here, getting ready to talk about evolution and changing our minds. I'm very excited about that.
Yes, absolutely. So, before we get into the discussion, tell us a little bit about yourself and, what brought you into the world that you now are in with transformational meditation.
Yeah, well, my background is in medical sciences. I've been doing a lot of studies in radiation and using radiation to treat and diagnose patients, and treated a lot of cancer patients. I've noticed that a lot of patients got a better outcome of their treatment based on the way they are, their state of being. If they're in a positive state of being or more positive state of being, if they have something to look forward to in life, they often had less side effects of the treatments we gave, and they got better results as well. So I asked my psychology professor at the time, what is it with your state of being and how well you're doing health-wise? He said, well, there are some connections there. I can advise you to try meditation. Look about what that is, because changing your state of being, changing your state of mind, meditation is a great tool. So I started studying that, did some yoga and meditation. All nice and well. Then I moved to Norway. I'm originally from the Netherlands, and I got a job in Norway to start a new cancer department here. And I had to adapt to the situation. It's a different culture, different country. Things go differently.
Really, that big of a difference from the Netherlands?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
like yeah. So even if it's Europe, and the differences shouldn't be that big, but I struggled a bit. And I was kind of worried to lose my job because of my state of being, because my way of working wasn't that compatible with what they did here. So at that time, I dropped meditation because, well, I was just busy moving and getting a life started in a new country. But I realized I should take it up again and try to change my state of being, the way I am, my perspectives on life, and my personality, basically, by doing meditation. So that was a gradual process, actually. I didn't really notice anything before 1 year later, and I talked with my boss, and he said, okay, you know what, I'm looking at a different Sep right now than I did a year ago. You've grown so much, and yeah. And I was on the bus on the way back home, and then I realized all of a sudden, yeah, that's because I used meditation to not only get familiar with myself, to find out my weaknesses, my strengths, and become comfortable with those, but also to change a mindset into a mindset that was more compatible with how I wanted to live, how I wanted to continue my life.
Kind of like that soul alignment, you know what I mean? Is you have the self and aligning it with the soul. And once you do that, life seems to flow so much better. And then you realize you're like, how, why did I know this earlier?
Yeah. And I also noticed I made the classic mistake of wanting to change my environment in order to change my life. And I realized all of a sudden that actually wherever you go, you take your environment with you, because you are the one creating your environment.
Yes, absolutely.
Based on your mindset, based on your perspective on life and your state of being.
I can relate with that. And then also I've had clients do the same thing. People will, for instance, change from job to job to job and be like, this wasn't it. I can't, like, the grass is always greener, but then it's like, in reality, their perspective of it, you know, and then once you make that shift, you can go anywhere and flow.
That's exactly it. And I meet a lot of people that do exactly the same things, that make the same mistakes. Like, I mean, I was an asshole, and then when I moved to another country and I take that asshole with me, the same things will happen there. You know, you're still creating the same situations and what you did somewhere else. And in courses I do, I say, okay, when you change it to another country, when you move to another country, don't expect things to change because you take yourself with you, but the change in your environment has to be pretty extreme in order for you to change with it. So if I would go to the Amazonas and live there with a tribe, for example, yes, then of course I wouldn't survive if I would stay the same person.
Sure.
I have to adopt, and then the
Yeah. Or
environment
if you stay the
influences.
same, you're just going to be miserable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, I mean, there's so many examples of that in the world today, as you know, people changing and going to somewhere different, but they, you know, for whatever past experiences that they have that have created their perspective that they have, and then they stay in that mindset instead of, you know, choosing to expand their perspective, and then they're miserable and they wonder why they're miserable. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the clinic that you currently work in Norway, can you discuss more about that, or so people know how to reach you?
I worked at what I'm doing now is just on the side, but I worked at the cancer department here in the town, and now I'm working at a project to implement a new patient journal. So I'm moved on from treating patients to more the IT part of things. Also because I needed some change.
And
I need to
do you
evolve.
have any mentors or you know, teachers that really inspired the shift for you as far as learning the meditations that you currently teach?
Yeah, one person that really opened my eyes and was a great mentor is Tiara Kumara. She's from the US. Though I'm a science person, she's pretty spiritual, but we had a lot of things in common. She's a nurse originally and started doing courses in using meditation for personal growth, really evolving into having a broader mindset. And she helped me a lot, realizing a lot about myself. And I actually used her knowledge to change my future that way. Yeah. And later on, when I really dove more into it and also tried to influence my patients with these kind of techniques and kind of thinking, I got in touch with the work from Joe Dispenza, for example. That kind of confirmed again, okay, what you're doing is actually scientifically correct, because he did a lot of
Yeah,
research,
because
research on it.
there's always going to be skeptics with everything. I mean, in this world.
Yeah.
But it is great that there's more scientific evidence backing it, and there's, I think, a huge part of that, like more of it's coming out, and I think a lot of that has to do with, and I'm kind of curious what you think about this, as far as how the world has changed since, you know, pre-pandemic, and then, you know, with the lockdowns and, you know, obviously mental health crises and whatnot. And a lot of people have been put in situations now where it's like they're forced to go within. They're forced to, you know, do that reflection that isn't so fun sometimes, and learn, you know, in the process. So I think that's wonderful that they're doing more studies now.
Absolutely. I think the pandemic has a positive side, that in many people get that push to change themselves, to see life a bit different, also to be drawn in the unknown. I mean, it's of course sad when you hear that a lot of people miss their jobs,
Yeah.
but change is in the unknown. And but also a lot of people who lost their jobs and created a whole new created new businesses.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, one of my teachers had said, you know, I take everything in this life as a blessing, no
Hmm.
matter what, even if it's what some may call the worst thing that could happen to me. If you find, and it's easier said than done sometimes, but, um, when you find that blessing and that gratitude um, in embracing our own suffering in whatever way that is, it's like you can make leaps and just tremendous shifts in your contribution to the world and your view on the world. And just, I mean, I know I've had tremendous shifts in my life by practicing that.
Yeah, and you also see that sometimes people need a crisis in order to start broadening their perspective and their view, and attracting more things as well. Because when you're kind of in that comfort zone every day, you get up, you get out of bed, you go to the same job every day, your life is kind of repetitive, and you get used to it. It's comfort zone, and everything that's unknown,
Sure.
you don't want to be there really, because you're okay the way you have it. But when you get pushed into that unknown, into the uncertainty, it's often a trigger to just open up your mind and
Yeah.
look for and be open for possibilities, opportunities. And that's a
Right.
shift that many people have gotten during the pandemic. Like, okay, now I have to open up. Now I have to uh,
Readjust, adapt, and overcome.
I have to take another career choice, for example, go from my office job to maybe work at a grocery store, but
Mhm.
that could be the new path on. Maybe they go working at the grocery store and they evolve on and go and become the manager of the store. And then if they are comfortable with that, they grow on, grow and grow, and all because of the pandemic. You don't,
Yeah.
I mean, getting down like many cancer patients I've seen, getting into the negative doesn't 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 give you anything. It just gives you more things to be negative about.
Right. Well, speaking of that, I want to show this book to you and everyone that's viewing right now because um, so I'm finishing up my hypnotherapy clinical certification course, and my teachers are just absolutely wonderful, and the director and his and co-director or his wife, she actually is a cancer survivor, and she contributes most of her healing through self-hypnosis. And the book is called What Can Go Right Will Go Right. And
Mm.
it's by Randall Churchill and his wife, Cheryl Canfield. Um, Highly recommend this book. I will send the link to you. It's just, I think everyone should read it. It's great. And there's so much of what you had just mentioned about, focusing on the negative, and we live on a polarity planet, and and with the magnets, what you think about, you're going to manifest. What you
Mm.
practice, you're going to manifest. And this book is just full of amazing stories and ways to, little things in life to just improve. And before each chapter, this is one of my favorite parts. It has like inspirational quotes. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's just after you're done reading the book, you're just like, wow, I feel so much better. It's
It's also
great.
always so great to read people's experiences and journeys through life, and get inspired by that, and see examples of,
Absolutely.
yeah, people
Overcoming
can do that.
adversity and challenges, like I love that, and I think sometimes it's one thing that I've seen. on the social media platform, I'm very selective on what I take in.
Mm-hmm.
One, because I'm very empathic, and so it's like I have to be, well, I don't have to be, but I choose to be selective on what I take in and soak in every day. Because whether or not people know it, it's like what you take in, it has an imprint on the subconscious mind. So it's like if you're not doing daily practices or things to clear that out, it builds up. And then, over time, over years, the older we get, the more it builds up if you're not clearing that out. And then that's why people, especially like, how old are you?
40.
40? Okay. I'm
Mm-hmm.
34. I'm going to be 35 this year, but it's a lot of people, especially in mid 30s, 40s, and then especially in 50s, all these years, these things have built up in the subconscious. So, that's why people run into these blocks in life. And I mean, no one's perfect, but it's good to have tools to be able to identify what it is, because it's like consciously you may be like, I'm doing everything right, but really due to event, your perspective on something that's limiting you.
Very nice that you mentioned it, because one of the things I do in my courses, because I give courses in this as well, is to release old programming.
Mm,
And like you say, when we become like in our mid 30s, 35, 36, we kind of stuck in a program, an automatic program that we
sure.
have
If
learned
you haven't
from
already identified that, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And we tend to build up program on program on program, and it becomes extremely complicated.
Yeah,
You kind of, you don't want to let go of an old program. And then new things come in and you try to adapt that to that old program you have. We have
right.
this what we have in our mind is built up after many years is like what do you call it?
It's like a hard drive. That's what I compare
No,
it to, a hard drive on a computer.
it's a filter. I don't remember the name about the name anymore. A conformistic filter.
Oh,
So what we have in our brain are two filters. I like to say we have our representative filter, which filters all the information we get from our five senses and forms a
yeah,
picture of that. And that picture goes through our conformistic filter. And a conformistic filter is basically always saying what I'm experiencing now, the information I'm experiencing now. I have to conform that to the life according to me. Yeah, what I believe. Also, all my beliefs, my history, my priorities, um, cultural things, all that things are in our conformistic filter. That's what we have learned, and our view of the world is primarily based on a conformistic filter. So if you're being told as a child, like big boys don't cry,
right.
that
Yeah,
gets into your filter.
yeah,
Um, when you as a young child see ghosts at night, for example, or you have trouble with that, it could be something that children can see. But if you're told by grown-ups all the time, like, no, ghosts don't exist, it's just, you cut that
right.
off,
Yeah.
but you filter that information out. Um,
That's
and
one of the best things about working with children. This is like on the hypnosis side, is that
mm,
they are so open to suggestions.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So it's like because they're still in that stage of taking things in. So it's like they're great because they have great imaginations. You know what I mean? Especially if if they've experienced some hardships or whatever, and then they need additional help through like therapy and then also like hypnotherapy. They're great to work with because they are open to suggestions and they have that creativity.
and we also have to be very careful, because when we are like around 4, 6 years old, um, most of the time we are in a brainwave state that is alpha, theta. So we
Yeah,
are
right.
awake, we as children, but when we are in that meditative state, actually, the children are, we are not analytical and we take everything like it's the truth.
Right. So
And
that's why it's like children are almost always in a state of hypnosis
yeah,
because that's what, right.
yeah, they're very
Absolutely.
suggestible to anything.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
why it's so important. Like, just the words we choose to use,
mm.
in life. They just have a tremendous impact, especially if we have young ones around us. Absolutely. So the course that you have, can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I have I have an offline course that I give here in Norway, and I travel around a bit as well. I've done actually a course in Salt Lake City a few years back.
Oh, neat.
Uh, that's transformational meditation, and it's a 2 3 day course, uh, just giving you the ins and outs of using meditation as a tool and self-regulating technique as a tool to change your mind and change your life and change your body. In the course I'm doing now online, this is Shift, the Art of Transformation. I go much deeper into the science, the medical science behind it. I explain more about how we create reality. So I talk about this with conformistic filters, uh, and how on a quantum level we continuously are interfacing with reality, and how we perceive reality is completely based on our state of being.
Sure.
Um, and then we go into how we can, the techniques for interacting with reality and how we can attract a different reality, um, how we can remove those layers of conditioning we talked about, and
Yeah.
and through meditation become aware of subconscious programming that no longer serves us, which is hard for many people because you get confronted with yourself, you know. So you have
Sure.
to accept some things about your past, about your life right now, that that isn't pretty, and you have to make a choice. So I'll teach all that stuff there. How do you get through those situations? How do you select what is good for you and not good for you? We train our intuition. We do a lot of heart-based meditation, heart-focused meditation, because one thing
Oh,
is changing
so
your mind,
important.
but if you don't connect that to your heart and you don't create feelings and emotions that correspond to what you think,
Yeah.
you only open your mind changing things, but you're feeling differently. So you have to embody that change in your mind. You have to be the embodiment of that change. So that's
Yeah.
why we
I think
link
I
our
that
heart and our
is
body together.
that connection is
Mm,
so important, and it's interesting because a lot of the jobs that I've had are mostly, left brain thinking type jobs, analytical jobs, and I'm a mix of, I'm pretty balanced as far as left right brain, but there's a lot of people who, with that are into just, that type of work, but they're not in touch with the other side of the brain.
mm,
And that emotion connection, and this later down the road leads to substance abuse, unhealthy habits, destructive type behavior, internally, because it's like those emotions that you're holding in and closing off, it's like your body keeps score of everything that happens,
mm, mm,
and it's not on a conscious level, and it's slowly over time, and then that leads to like alpha type personalities with heart issues and things like
mm.
that. So the what you're offering and helping people with, it's just when you get this, when people are given this knowledge that they can have for themselves, it's priceless, you know?
Yeah.
It really
Mm.
is.
And that's a bit of my goal, to make people aware that how powerful they really are. And you can, I recently talked to one of my students that said, okay, I'm afraid, you know, because she is really, her feelings say to her, I have to do more with, work more with my, my gifts as a Reiki practitioner, medium, and she's afraid to express those,
Oh, sure.
express
Yeah.
that, express it because she's afraid of the reactions from other people.
Right.
And so we're working on her fear on that level there. So she has identified that it's fear that she's struggling with. So those are feelings and emotions she doesn't want to have. And so then we go through, okay, what does a person that doesn't have that fear? What qualities does a person have? And she writes that down. And then we're going to train our mind through meditation to become that person. And that's not done overnight. That's practicing.
Consistency. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you get that wiring up in your brain, when you change that wiring up in your brain, then it's also take that down to your heart, because you have to become that person. That's what
Yeah.
I did. I got very angry quickly. I was impatient. So I wrote down, okay, I don't want those qualities anymore. I want different qualities. I want to be more patient. And how does it feel when I am that different person? When I get recognition from my colleagues, how does that feel? When my colleagues find it more pleasant to work with me. And also I write those feelings down. It becomes part of me, and I go into meditative state and I become that person. I train my mind to become that person. And I feel it. When I connect it to my heart, I start to feel it. I express that feeling. And I often noticed myself smiling during meditation. You become
Yeah.
aware that
That's
you're smiling.
powerful practice.
So then your physiology changes as well,
Yep.
right? Because our body doesn't understand the difference between what's happening outside of us or the situation we create inside of us. So it reacts in almost the same way. So by doing that, becoming that person, it becomes a habit, and that becomes a personality. And then you will also notice the effects afterwards. So, okay, great. I am less angry, I'm more calm. And it also got over to my patients as well, because, they liked being around me because I was so calm around them,
Right.
except for that
And then
doctor that came in.
I'm sure more people want to be around someone that they feel that
Yeah.
vibration. So it's always nice to be around someone who feels good.
Mm.
No one wants to be around someone that's not, and it's just and it's emitting that frequency out, and it's like,
Mm.
I'm really big into the 10 body system and Kundalini yoga, and we
Mm.
do kriyas and meditations to build that up. And it's like people can feel that, you know?
But do you notice when it's fake?
Absolutely.
Very positive people, like
Yeah.
whoa, all over the place. But you just notice, you know what?
It's funny you mentioned that,
You're
because
thinking
I
that, you're
always
not feeling.
say if somebody ever just all they say is love and light, and like that's
Mm.
it, and I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
always questionable about that, because it's
yeah,
like, what's really going on underneath that? Because it's not. The
yeah,
world's not like that.
yeah.
I mean, to each their own, but yeah, that's bullshit.
And that's what I mean by that connection between the mind and the brain, because you kind of can act out of your mind that, yeah, I have to be positive, I have to be positive. But if you don't really feel it, there is that
Yeah.
mismatch, and other people can pick up on that. They say, okay, you know what? You're a fake positive person because I don't sense your positivity at all. And that comes from the heart.
Yeah.
Now, the heart creates a big electromagnetic field around us, and we pick up on that. We
Mhm.
interact with that. We communicate with that. Uh, that's also why group meditations and group heart focus meditations are so fantastic, because we amplify the frequency so much when we are on that same
Oh yeah.
frequency. Um, and noticing when you also are on sitting on a park bench, for example, watching people, you can sense sometimes people going by that, oh, this is a negative person, oh, this is a fun person. You can sense that without even really seeing them. You
Yeah,
just walk
working with
by.
the subtle body energies.
Mm. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's all in an electromagnetic field, full of information. So when you meet people, like you say, that are very positive, very happy, but don't really feel it, that mismatch, we pick it up straight away. And that's so
Yeah.
important to embody that mindset. If you want to have a positive mindset, also embody it, connect that to your heart and express that through your energy.
Like I think that that's absolutely linked with pure intentions.
Yeah.
You know, having a pure heart with pure intentions. I mean, if you have that, you can't go wrong.
And that's when synchronicities occurs. When you think about something and you have that link with your heart reestablished, because as a child we have that, you know,
Yeah.
uh, and when you were young and playing as like a prince and princess or something like that, or it becomes so real for you, like even a little toy sword becomes very real for you as a child. So you naturally have that link. But when we go to school, we get drawn up to our mind. We just have to take in information and remember it. So we're only up in our mind. We are getting detached from our heart and our feelings.
Yeah.
Reattaching that.
And when that happens, it's like that you get that break in the intuitive sense.
Yeah,
When you're not in alignment with that,
yeah,
and you know, that's why, you know, thousands of years ago, the Pacific Islanders could navigate the high seas and through the stars and their intuition.
mm,
Like, you know what I mean? And
mm,
back in ancient Egypt, and you know, when these practices, these ancient practices, you know, that through meditation and yoga, things like that, um, all about to connect the mind body system. So, you know, people who had these, some people call them supernatural traits, but in reality, it's not. Like with psychic abilities and increased intuition, mediumship, that's just part of the human experience.
yeah,
When you align yourself to be able to have those additional senses.
mm, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Mm,
Your the link to your classes that you have, that's in your your link in bio on your Instagram,
mm,
right?
yeah.
Great. So all you guys watching, go and check those out for sure.
Mm, mm.
Um, so do you have experience working with people with you said you're one student that had a phobia. Do you work with people on overeating and smoking, to quit smoking and things like that also?
Yeah, addictions is the same thing, breaking
Yeah,
those habits.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mm,
Yeah, that's one of the meditations that I do every day, the Kundalini Yoga addiction meditation.
mm.
Are you familiar with that, with the thumbs, fingers in the palms?
Oh, you're using that. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, works with the molars and then the Sa Ta Na Ma mantra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not so familiar with those techniques. I'm the lazy guy. I'm just leaving my body.
Fair enough.
Get, well, get rid of it. So it's deep, it's basically deep meditation.
So, do you have for most of the time in your classes, do you use mantra at all with your meditations or
No,
um
we use sound. We use sound, and we
okay.
use binaural beats, for example. I'm a big fan of the
Oh yeah.
inventors of binaural beats from the Monroe Institute, Hemisync, for example. Those are extremely good. But I always say that's like help, you know? Don't get addicted to that again. And that's the same
Right.
with guided meditations. People can get like totally depend on it after a while. Okay, I have to hear your voice and etc. But
Yeah.
to be able to do this on your own. Of course, a little bit of music in the background just to relax and get the right atmosphere going is perfect, but don't get addicted to it. That
Right. And it's, and speaking of addictions, it's like when people hear the word addiction, they may just automatically assume of, you know, uh, drug and alcohol,
Mm.
narcotics, things like that. And they won't always go to our everyday things like technology or, I mean, just addicted to a parapsychological thought form that
Yeah.
comes in, you know what I mean? Whether it be like an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend or an event that happened that they're constantly on replay on that projection in the
Mm.
subconscious. And that's what's so great about with meditation, clearing out the subconscious and then, and through hypnosis, reprogramming that so you have a different projection. It's great and it's
Yeah.
all available to us through us.
What I found with meditation, one of the great things there is that you become aware of those when you go into those pathways. When you all of a sudden you become aware that you go into an addictive uh, side road, or what you want to call it. It's like, oh, I
Yeah,
notice myself getting kind of caught up in that.
you can see
Whatever.
it from the second perspective, like from the
Yeah,
second person.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
that
you be,
that's great.
you become conscious of when you go subconscious much more.
Yeah.
So you get more control there over that. But then I've met people for whom meditation is like an addiction in itself, and I've been there. I became that person that was over the top
What do you
busy
mean
with
by
it.
that as far as
Well, that you get more
using
and
it as
more
an
estranged.
escapism or
Yeah, well, not that, but that you become more and more estranged from your environment. Like you still have to be in the world, you still have to participate in
right?
society.
Yeah.
And I was on the verge to becoming more and more um, separated from it, you know.
Hmm.
So there
I've
was
had
a point.
similar experiences. That's why I'm agreeing
Yeah.
because sometimes it's like, especially, I know for me at least, I'm speaking for myself, but the joy of solitude sometimes can be for me and my personality type and how I am really enjoyable. So sometimes I
Mm.
have to make an effort to go and socialize and things like that because I'm like, oh, I can just meditate, do yoga, and read my book and go running outside and be in nature, and I'm good.
Exactly the same. Uh, and I often need to get out and be alone and recharge and center myself again, because you
Yeah.
kind of can get pulled in every direction. And yeah, so it's nice, but everything should be in balance. That's basically the thing, and I noticed that at some point that, okay, now you're going too far with this meditation stuff, and get down to earth. And that's when I decided, okay, I should show, or kind of be the example of showing that you don't have to be a spiritual guru or something like that. You can use these techniques in everyday life,
Yes.
and benefit
Yes.
from it, you know
Absolutely.
so when
Yeah, I know that's like a huge misconception, and I think a lot of that has to do with the conditioning of like propaganda and things on, TV and the culture and all that as like it's only for, a certain type of people, and it's like no, it's for everyone, and it's
yeah
available for everyone, and it can help you manage all aspects of your life and just embrace every aspect of your life to bring elevate you and optimize your existence and you're living on your entire life.
Simple self-regulating techniques. I always advise to do heart-brain coherence meditation in the morning just to set your state of being for the day. You don't have to sit there for an hour to do that. 5 to 10 minutes is enough. And you're pretty
Is that
centered when you
so?
wake
Is
up.
that what you recommend? 5 to 10 minutes for beginners.
Yeah, just for like you brush your teeth for 5 minutes, or maybe 2 minutes is enough every day as well, you know? So if you can brush your teeth every day, why then can't you keep your mind in order and clear as
Yeah,
well? Yeah.
it set the tone for the day. That's what
Yeah.
I just did a workshop recently, and I gave a meditation. It was 3 minutes that I recommended, people that are just starting. It's like 3 minutes a day, first thing when you get up, and especially the first thing when you get up, because especially when you get up
Mm,
early in the morning, when the
mm.
subconscious isn't fully up and at it yet, that is a great time to, it's just, and it allows you to, self-regulate and navigate through your day, because it's like you're clear-minded, and when you're clear-minded you're more energized, you're more vital, and everything good comes out of that.
And I teach it in the form of manifestation technique, you know? If you, when you do those longer meditations that we teach, and learn the feeling of being that person you want to be, being in that state of being you want to be, you can easily recreate it in the morning doing that short heart-brain coherence meditation. Create that state of being and train yourself to take that state of being with you throughout the day. And then notice what happens. Notice what happens, because that's when the change is. When you embody that change in the morning already, become that person, and because you train meditation every day, also become aware when you slip out of it, when you are no longer that person anymore, and
Yeah,
can get back to it, then you're going into that circle that you're training your mind and body
right. And then
to a
it's,
deeper state
we
of
all have
being.
our off days, and then when that
Mm,
happens, it's just like you get back up and you keep going
yeah,
on your journey. Absolutely.
yeah.
Besides the class that you offer on your page in your link in bio, do you offer any online workshops so people know to
I,
know how they can join you?
I sometimes do an online workshop, but I'm not a fan of doing too much online work, especially because of the deep meditations.
Sure.
And so I'm doing free online classes now, because I'm doing a course now once a week. So on every Wednesday at well, I don't know what it is at Pacific time, but it's at 9 p.m. GMT. We do a freestyle meditation, as I call it, and it can be anything. We just have fun with playing with our conscious mind. So we can do a heart-brain coherence. We can even do an astral journey if people want that, more visualizing and just exploring the non-locality of consciousness.
Yeah, that's
Those are
great.
fun things to do. Um, but really, for really using meditation as change, it's now the first year I'm doing courses online and trying to explain it and follow along with people. So I also set a limit to how many people can participate, because I really want to follow up on them. So
Is currently in Norway, are you able to have classes at all? Like,
yeah, I
because
have one in
here,
February.
oh,
Mm.
okay.
Yeah, so I do a gathering every month, if it's okay according to the current COVID situation. But we have full classes every month, and then we do deep meditation. And I do a little bit of hypnosis there as well, just to give people a quicker way of getting into that deep relaxation state, and get into that almost out of body experience that I want to give them. And when you pull your mind from your body gets into that state of biological intelligence. So it wants to find homeostasis. So people that have some sort of chronic problems, pain, etc., they can benefit greatly from that, because when your
Oh
mind
yeah.
doesn't interfere anymore with your body gets into that natural state of homeostasis.
And yeah, and
So it repairs much
that amount of
faster.
healing that can occur in that level is just profound. One of the things that in my most recent class, we went over hypnosis for first responders,
Mm,
and there's been all these case studies that have happened, and I mean, there's scientific evidence supporting this of after the initial incident, and then the first responders who respond and the scripts that they give the patients. Of course, you're always going to reassure someone that's in that state, but there's a profound difference in the amount of like being able to slow down bleeding,
mm,
from the incident to when they to get to the hospital with burn victims, with anxiety and breathing techniques through that. And what you say to someone, and like what you had mentioned earlier, and what we talked about with the electromagnetic field. And it's like, if you are not tuned in to that and you are not in that calm breeds calm, calm breeds calm. So if
mm,
you need to be linked up to that in that calm state to be able to admit
yeah.
that, and that person that's in that less than desirable state to get on that wavelength and then listen to you and the subconscious mind. And it's like the power of the subconscious mind, it controls 90% of what we do. So
Mm.
it's like, it's just incredible what we can do to help each other.
It's especially I did my certification in clinical hypnosis, so using hypnosis in healthcare sector. I so recommend that for every doctor and every nurse. When
Oh,
I was there, it was mostly psychologists and dentists who were there.
oh yeah.
But as a doctor, and you finally realize that you can just talk your patient into their grave, by just already saying, yeah, the situation you are in, well, I will give it 4 weeks, and you program the patient to
Right.
expect that to
And
happen.
well,
You,
I mean, it's all like, I mean,
mm,
ever since I've taken the clinical course, it's like semantics is huge,
mm,
you know.
yeah.
The words that we choose, it's like, especially in vulnerable people that are in vulnerable states of mind, because it's like they already have all these other stressors. So it's like they're already, open. And then, yeah, I definitely agree that
I had such a
those
laugh at
classes
that
should be given.
course. I had such a
Yeah,
laugh at that course because I have to tell this because there were lots of psychologists there and they already know how to talk and what to do. And I say, yeah, but for my work, I worked at the cancer department at that time. I said, I have to tell patients about all the side effects that might happen. Are you crazy? Don't do that. They will get everything you say. And that's partly true. But then you have to find out how to tell a patient
how to
about,
articulate it.
yeah, it's like you shouldn't say it like you can expect side effects, but say it like, okay, because we are by law, we had to tell them. If the patient is not informed about the side effects, you can kind of get a lawsuit against you. I didn't know
Yeah,
about this when I started. So you have to tell them. But if you tell them, you can tell them in a way that they're going to expect it, or you tell them in a way that if you experience this, then know that this
right,
is normal. Yeah.
right.
That's a whole
Yeah,
different way of
and
telling.
it's like, and then when you tell people, especially if you tell someone, don't do this, the subconscious
Mm,
mind is like, oh, okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna do this.
let's try it out.
Oh, too funny. Well, do you have any books that you recommend any viewers read?
Yeah, I'm. I can give you the link afterwards. That book
Okay,
from
yeah, and
Sara.
then whenever I post after our talk,
Yeah.
I'll share all that.
And books I have from the top of my head are a very good one. I think You Are the Placebo by Joe Dispenza is a very
Okay.
good one to start
I haven't
with.
read that one.
Yeah. So that's a very good one to start with. It's very down to earth. It's very scientific, but it explains the placebo effect, and also in relation to, for example, hypnosis and meditation. You know, you utilize a form of placebo effect by doing that. So You Are the
Yeah.
Placebo, it's called. Yeah,
I haven't read that one. I read his Becoming Supernatural.
that's the latest one. Yeah,
Yeah, and that
yeah,
was phenomenal.
yeah.
So I'm looking forward to, I actually might get this one on audio book because I'm doing an advanced course for hypnosis in June, and I
Hmm.
decided that I'm going to drive cross country because I haven't done that yet.
Uh-huh.
So I got to get some good audio books. So thank you.
And on Amazon, now I remember the name, Morphogenesis is it's called, the book of Tiara Kumara. Morphogenesis.
Morphogenesis.
Genesis. Yeah.
And who's the author of that?
Tiara Kumara. I will give you the name. That's the woman that got it all started for me in this.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
So absolutely a great asset to any library. Absolutely very good. Yeah.
Wonderful. I
Uh,
have, besides my What Can Go Right, Will Go Right recommendation, this book by Gil Boyne, Master Hypnosis Trainer,
mm,
Self-Hypnosis, Key to Your Inner Power. Fantastic book. I put tabs on all my stuff.
I should I should
All
I
of
should
my
read
books
more
have
about it
that
now.
because
Yeah.
I'm always referencing back. Like I'll think of something and be like, what was that again? And then I have to, because I need to read something over and over again to let it stick. That's how I
I,
function.
I should read more about hypnosis because I'm a kind of, well, not afraid of it, but kind of it's a bit direct, you know. You get into a situation more directly,
Mhm.
and I'm not the one that likes to force people into a certain direction.
Yeah. Oh, well,
So
it's not, I don't, with the practice, there's so many different ways you can approach it.
mm.
Don't, you don't force anyone to do anything.
But then I want to
Uh,
learn from you in our
yeah.
next talk, maybe when I
Yeah.
invite
Yeah.
you to talk with
Absolutely.
me next
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about
Absolutely.
hypnosis then. I want to learn more about that. Mm.
Yeah.
Can benefit
This
us.
has been so interesting to have this conversation with you and to um, have all these different tools to put in our toolbox to just live a better life.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So you have every Wednesday night at 9 p.m., you said Norway time
No, Norway
online.
time, it would be 10 p.m. Norway time. Central European time, 10 p.m.
Okay.
Mm. Mm.
Oh, so are you a night owl?
Well, I do it because most of my followers are in the US.
Oh, okay.
So I'm kind of taking this as late as possible
So it's like, oh,
for
is
their
this a
sake.
pre-bedtime? This is
Yeah.
great. Okay.
No, and
That's dedication.
it's also quiet at the house here then too as well, so I can concentrate.
Well,
Yeah.
I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to speak with me today and to speak
Thank
with
you for having me.
everyone. And um, this has been a real eye opener, and just I'm so glad that I came across you on social media.
Likewise.
Um, I
Mm.
think we meet everyone for a reason. So, um,
And
what you're doing.
you're invited back to me when I interview you because I want to know more about hypnosis and I want to know more about the Minerva Institute you are starting up, I guess, because you're opening
Yeah.
a website in autumn. Is it like that? Yeah.
Yeah, yep, in autumn. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so how long, before we wrap everything up, how long have you had your practice for?
I've been meditating for over 20 years, but I've been teaching transformational meditation for 6 years now.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And everyone, do you have any additional websites you'd like to highlight? Any YouTube or?
Just go to tmg.community, the link in my bio, and then you'll find also all the other links to all the other websites I'm on. Yeah.
Great. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And I'm definitely going to stop by the next time I am in Europe and in Norway for sure.
But keep in touch and let me know when you're here.
Will do. Have a
And
great night.
thank you. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks everyone for joining us.